We're going to talk about how to move into manifestation at a whole new level, meaning you manifest automatically at the level that you want rather than trying to get your energy all hyped up and then maybe you have it come in, maybe you don't, where it seems like it's a bit of a flighty experience. Manifestation is a expression of your identity. Those of you who have been with me for a while and you have learned from me or you've been through the spiritual coach training program, you have a very solid baseline understanding of this. Manifestation is a expression of your identity. Let's break that down. Your personal identity is who you believe you are and what you believe is possible for you. This is your filter of life, like all the time. You are seeing the world through your own lens of who you believe you are and what you believe is possible for you. So now that doesn't mean you don't see things. You might see things out there that you are seeing as possible. But for you and your own personal reality, you're filtering it all the time through, is this possible for me or is it not? So you're either saying unconscious or conscious, you're saying that's for them or that's for me. Do you feel me on that? We can all relate to that. So always we're kind of seeing our reality through the baseline of who we are. It's a filtered experience. So your current version of reality that you have manifested, don't sell yourself short. Everything that's in your life is something you have been an energetic match for. Everything that you're seeing is validating who you believe you are and what you believe is possible for you. This is the foundation of everything. When we want to manifest at a new level, first let's talk about what do we normally do? We want to manifest at a new level. We're like, okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to meditate and I'm going to get my energy up to a new level, right? And listen, no shame. It's a valid avenue to try to go for things, but it takes a lot of energy, does it not? It takes so much energy to try and get your vibration up enough, get grateful enough, get happy enough, get joyful enough to try to receive that one thing that it can almost be a deterrent because it feels like it takes so much energy to do that. So, why does that happen? Here we have you at a foundational level. You are one vibration. Like you're like a range of vibrations. So who you are at the baseline is like you're hanging out here. When you want to manifest something that's outside of here, like up here, what you're having to do is muster up the energy to match it. But if it's not sustainable, if you haven't shifted your baseline vibration, you're inevitably going to come back down. So you might get this thing one time. You feel me? You might manifest that one thing, but then inevitably your vibration comes back down. So, what we want to do when we're talking about manifesting at a new level, we want to look at what is my baseline level? Where am I hanging out all the time? Because that is your foundation. And it comes back to the identity, who I believe I am, what I believe is possible for me. So, when you're shifting, what you're actually shifting is yourself, your own definition of self. This is no small thing, right? This is actually quite large. When you are manifesting at the level that you're at, you're kind of cycling the kind of the same things over and over and over again, right? When we're not intentionally doing the work, meaning I'm looking at my vibration. What am I thinking? What am I believing? What are my fears? What are the things that are actually in the way? When you're not doing that work, your change in reality is very slight. There's always going to be a little bit of change, but it is slight. It's very, very small, right? Once you start doing that work where you're like, well, hang on a second. What do I even believe about myself? How am I viewing myself? If I gave myself a definition, if I put it into words, what would I say about myself? And the sneaky part about this is we have our aspirational of who we want to be. We have our distorted version of who we think we are. and then we have the truth. Amen. So you've got that higher level self that's in your head all the time. That's like, I am a spiritual being. I can do anything. Anything is possible. I'm a great manifester. Like you've got the higher version. And then we also have the distorted lower version, which is that version of ourselves that we feel is less than everything and everyone else. Non-truth, right? But that exists within us in our definition. And then we have the actuality of the truth here. So neither of the extremes are where we're at. This is where we're at. We're some combination of the two. So when we're looking at our own definition and the reality that we're essentially allowing, because that's really what it is, what we're allowing for ourselves, we got to get real and honest. Because if we're not looking at what do I actually believe about me, then we're kind of just fooling ourselves, right? And so then we have to go and do that sit down, muster up the energy to try to get the thing, but then inevitably I come back down. So I always teach inside all of my programs, my even my private coaching, my courses, you got to kind of step outside of yourself. You got to like become the witnesser that looks at this human version of you. Because as you can do that, number one, you're going to stop judging yourself so much, which is vitally important. You're going to stop making yourself wrong and you're going to start looking at, oh, I see that little belief system. I see that little block that's been holding me back. When you can kind of create a little bit of separation to actually see yourself and what you've been operating in, what you've been believing, the fears that you've been kind of letting it guide you and lead you, when you can see that, now you can actually start to shift it. Praise in the hallelujahs. So we want to look at where am I currently living vibrationally? That's a really great question to ask yourself. Where am I living vibrationally most of the time? Because we have ups and downs all day long, right? Like again, you have a range that you're kind of hanging out in. So some days you might be on that high end where you're just like feeling amazing, you're doing your thing, all of that. And then some days you might be on that low end where you're like, "Ugh," the distorted, wounded version. But where are you at the majority of the time? That baseline foundation is where your reality is showing you all the time. That's what's being reflected back to you. So you can kind of start to play with this on your own by saying, okay, well, what is the highest vibrational vision that I have for myself? Don't judge yourself in this, just kind of feel it. Like, oh, that is kind of resting at a different vibration than I'm resting at, right? So we just start to witness it. And in the witnessing of this, what you're actually seeing is different versions of you existing on different timelines. Ooh, now we're going to get real quantum-y. So timelines are different energetic frequencies. Without getting too quantum physicsy and very esoteric today, you have probably, if you've listened to me before, heard me explain it in terms of floors in a building. But I want you to think about every floor in the building has a different version of you that's already existing there. I know, it's like, but it already does. And what you are is the consciousness that lights up that version. So wherever you are consciously aware, that is the version of reality that you're living and existing in. But you can't go from this floor to this floor until you let go of this version. Does that make sense? So when you want to be that next level higher version of yourself who's existing on this timeline, you simultaneously have to let go of this version of yourself and everything that's existing on this timeline. Now, when I say it like that, you can kind of see the fear, right? Because immediately what happens is our ego goes, but I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to lose all of this. I don't want, there's fear in detachment. But the truth of the matter is that it's not letting go of you. It's not letting go of all of the things you love. It's letting go of that version of it. There is a higher, better version of it. Some things may fall away. Yes, soul contracts may end. But in that going, what you're gonna do is move into a higher, more expanded vibrational reality of you. It's a different version of you. So you're never actually losing yourself. What you're actually losing is old parts of you, old things that aren't a match for you anymore. You're moving into that new level. But what happens so often is we get very, very attached to where we are. We even get attached to our problems, which is so funny to think about, but it happens all the time. We get attached to our problems. We get attached to fixing our problems. And that actually keeps us stuck in a looping reality on that same floor. We're like, no, 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 no. I have to vacuum this rug. It's not clean enough yet. I can't go to the second floor while the rug is still dirty down here. It sounds silly, but this is really what we do. We've got these problems that we think we need to overcome, we think we need to fix. But in actuality, the problem, the thing that you've been facing, the challenge is trying to get you to level up. Stop trying to fix the problem and ask what the problem is trying to do for you. What is the problem trying to awaken you to? Maybe it's awakening you to old attachments that are causing you to have a very tumultuous life. Do you feel me on that? Like, if you are, an example, we'll go to, relationships. If you're in a relationship where your boundaries are crossed all the time, where you're not treated well, where it's not growing and expanding you spiritually, it's not helping you actually, it's actually causing you damage. That problem can be like, you might sit there and go, but I just need to make this better. And then once this is better, I'll be on the other side of it. But the problem, maybe the problem, is trying to get you to see where you need to draw a line in the sand. It's trying to get you to raise your self-worth. It's trying to get you to say, no, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this anymore. It's trying to get you to level up, to say, I am not available for problems at this level. Do you feel me on that? So every problem, every challenge, just like we talked about last week, the storm is meant to change you. You are not meant to change the storm. When the problem shows up, you got to ask yourself, what is this asking me? What is it asking me to level up in? What is it asking me to let go of? And that is how we leave that first floor and level up into the second floor. So, the beauty of all of this is that when you're in the midst of a storm, a challenge, a problem, a thing that you want to be over, that you want to be resolved, you will stay in the storm until you awaken the part of you that says, I can just leave the storm. Do you feel me on that? Because the old version of you was identified with the storm. And once you realize you are not the storm, that the storm is not something you have to stay in, that's your level up. That's you choosing yourself. That's you deciding on a higher level and you exit the storm. So, do we see how we can get really, really attached to what's happening here on the first floor or what's happening inside the storm? You can get really identified with your surroundings, with what's happening outside of you, so much so that you are not willing to walk away from them. And that will keep you stuck. So, we've got to kind of have this self-awareness where we pop out of it and we're like, okay, hang on a second. What is actually happening here? Because I could be so attached to needing something to be a certain way that I keep myself stuck in the exact same position for years, decades, maybe even the rest of your life. What you're doing is shifting your definition of self. So when these shifts happen, you're changing who you are. And the attachment oftentimes is to an old version of ourselves and the comforts of that version. Do you feel me on that? So the work is when you're actively doing the healing work, the shifting work, the why do I feel this way? Why do I believe these things? Who is it that I am? When you're actively doing that work, you're letting go of old vibrational energy and you're making space for new vibrational energy. So the whole point of doing the healing work is for our evolution. It is so that we can become more of who we actually are and less of the distorted version. So if you think about however you grew up in conditioned belief systems, no matter who you are, everybody is that way. You have the belief systems of your mom, society, the environment you grew up in, your community, your culture. You have that, and it's layered on top of you. So when you start doing the awakening healing work, you're taking those layers off of you. You're getting whatever they had for you because it was all it was all purposeful for you to go on your evolution and gain the growth that you need to gain as a soul. But you're letting go of the things that don't serve you. That's that healing work. It's like that's why it's always up because you're getting less dense, less heavy. You're lightening the load, taking off all of that stuff. So we do the healing work so that you can let go of everything that isn't you and move into that higher vibrational state of who you actually are. We're creating flow, we're creating space. It's becoming easier. But there's a time period where it feels really hard because we're so attached to the old. It feels like your whole world is crumbling. It feels like you're losing who you are. There is a time period of that. But this is why I come and I talk to you guys because I want you to know that if you're in that, you are not crumbling. Your ego is crumbling. The old is crumbling. Everything that cannot come with you is crumbling. And yes, there's fear in that. 100% there is fear in that. But the fear is coming from the ego, not from your truth. You can tap into the part of you that knows. I always talk about this because it's so, so important. There's a part of you that is so calm, and it might be teeny tiny and really, really quiet, but there's a part of you that is so calm. For me, it's always just like right back here. There's a part of you that knows. There's a part of you that is so good, steady, strong, stable, knows everything's fine. That is who you actually are. All the fear, all the scarcity, all the attachments, all the worries, that's not you. That's ego. That's the layers. And it's gonna feel like fear as it's dying. But don't identify with it. Identify with truth. Identify with the calm groundedness. Identify with the power that is in you and allow the chaos, the fear, the crazy chihuahua to fall away. Because as it does, and you give, I almost wanted to say credence. Maybe that's the right word. You give credence, you give focus, you give energy to the part of you that is the calm, grounded, stable part of you. Now that begins to become your dominant vibration. And then you're no longer a match for the fear manifestations, the scarcity manifestations, the what am I going to do? And I need to hustle up and force things and blah, blah, blah. You're no longer a match for that reality anymore as you let it fall away and you start to strengthen this over here. This is the truth of who you are. Does this make sense? So, what we're doing is essentially shifting what we expect to be true. This is a really great, simple way to put this. When you shift your self-definition, your identity, which manifests your reality, you're shifting your assumption of what is going to happen in your life. Do you see that? You see how simple that is? Like, I'm shifting my default assumption of what I think is going to happen in life. Now, again, pop out of yourself and see it for what it is. You have a natural assumption of where you think your life is going. That's not an accident. That comes from your belief about you and what you believe is possible for you. So when I start doing the healing work, when I start putting my power back inside of me, then I am naturally shifting my assumption of what my life is going to be. It's a natural default tilt up. Because when I no longer feel like I'm caged by limitation, when I'm no longer outsourcing my power to people, to money, to things, to jobs, to whatever, then I'm shifting my vibration to what I believe I'm capable of, what I believe is a natural evolution for me. And you can really start to see this when you start to look at everyone in the world. Look at every human in the world. Does every human in the world assume the next day is going to be exactly the same as the person that's next to them, that's next to them, that's next to them? That's no. Everybody has different thoughts and beliefs and assumptions about what's going to happen. And so their life is falling in line with that. Now, do you see how that has nothing to do with anybody around them? Nothing. Everyone's life is following your natural assumption of your own life. And so when we start to blow up belief systems, when we've been living in a caged limitation, and then we start to look at that limitation and we say, like, hang on a second, why am I believing that? Is that actually true? Could I have a different belief system? You're shifting that natural assumption timeline. And even a 1 millimeter shift is a totally different reality, which is just the magic because every single time that we shift a filter, meaning we shift a belief system, we shift a thought, we shift an idea about what's happening for ourselves, when we change the perspective, just like today, we change the perspective from problem to catalyst. Do you see how that creates two totally different reality trajectories? The tiniest little shifts start to change what you believe can be happening for you, what you believe is possible. And then that will start to change your reality. Now, when you start to change you, like you're like, I am this, and you start to really buy into it, embody that new level of being, then your whole reality changes. It's like when I first started showing up and teaching online, I there was a time period, actually I don't think I've talked about this very much. There was a time period before I started doing that where I just started learning and like seeing other people do it. Seeing other people show up, seeing other people talk, seeing other and like almost like feeling into what it would be like if that was me. Do you see what I'm saying? Like they're living this whole world reality where they're doing their own thing. They're getting paid to talk. They're getting paid to teach and help people. Like feeling into that vibration of reality. And there was a time period where it was this seesaw where I was working my corporate job before I ever started showing up online and teaching and saying anything. There was a time period where I started to let go of that being my identity, the corporate being my identity. I started telling people, even though I hadn't even started a business yet, I started telling people that this is what I do. Oh, I'm building my business where I'm going to be helping people. This is who I didn't even mention the corporate job anymore. Did it feel awkward as hell? Yes. I did not care. I was shifting from identifying with this is my job to actually this is my job. Do you feel the shift in that in identity? I was not claiming this is my identity anymore. I was starting to claim this, and it was awkward and weird internally. But what it taught me was one, I decide, but two, other people don't care. Like you feel like it's awkward, you feel like it's a weird thing to say. Other people are like, oh, cool. And they move on with their lives. So it wasn't for other people, it was for me. It was for me to shift into this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. I would tell people, like, oh no, I can't go out tonight. I'm working on my business and I'd work on my website. You know, you would think that people question you. They really don't. I said that so many times and people were like, oh, okay, that was it. That was it. But I started speaking the language of I am this person. I started doing the actions of I am this person. So then when I started showing up online, it wasn't this weird, like out of left field thing for me. It was new. It was like nervousness, but it was in alignment with where I was going. Do you see? So I started shifting the energy out of the natural assumption that my next day was just going to be like yesterday because I'm in a corporate job and we do the same shit every day. shifting out of that energy to, oh, no, I now do this. I actually run my own business. I'm actually staying home to work on my website. I'm actually building out this thing right now. Do you see how I started changing the momentum of energy to a different assumption? So the next day wasn't going to look like the old day, the last day, because I was changing the energy based on who I was deciding to be. You change that law of assumption. You change that energy. This is the power we have all the time. So you're never stuck. You are never stuck. You're never trapped. You're the one who can change it. But you got to look at, because a lot of times when life feels heavy and life feels dark and it feels like you're trying and you're trying and you're trying and you can't get out of where you're at, you got to surrender to where you're at because it has something for you. And I know that's super hard. And I've been there and I've been in the fear and I've been in the chaos and I've been in the darkness. And I know it's really, really hard, but you've got to look at what it has for you because that's the storm. And the storm is trying to get you to see something. It's trying to shake something out of you. It's trying to awaken something in you. So maybe it's, you're getting shaken out of feeling victim to things. You're getting shaken out of feeling as though you don't have power. It's trying to awaken your power. But you got to look at what it's trying to do for you and stop fighting the storm. Stop trying to change life and start looking at changing yourself because it's not about doing things outside of you. It's about what's happening inside of you. And then the actions will naturally follow what is inside of you. And then they'll actually move the needle because you're no longer ignoring the internal. You're starting with the internal. And the internal is how the external is manifested and created. Does that make sense? Dun, da, da, da. Okay. That is a wrap. Hello, gorgeouses. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy that you are here taking in this content so that we can create the change we're here to create. If you are interested in taking this work deeper, you can check out the links below in the show notes. The next healing immersion container, the Miracle Matrix Experience, is officially open for enrollment. So if you are interested in that, you can check out all of those details and don't miss the free masterclass that is also available below entitled Heal Your Nervous System to Quantum Leap. I'm so happy you're here and I will see you in the next video.